Welcome to Five or Flop, a podcast for the best and worst historical fiction has to offer. I'm your host, Grace.
And I'm Erin, and each week we'll be reading a different historical fiction book to see if they're a five or a flop.
Our theme for season 2 is Booktok and Bestsellers, and it's the finale of the season.
Holy shit, how are we at the season 2 finale?
And we're reading Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus.
Oh my gosh. This has been a long time coming. This was the book I kept forgetting we were doing this season because I thought Babel was our season finale basically up until we recorded Babel.
Yeah, and a couple of times, this is a completely fair assessment, but I ran off the list to my mom of all the books we were doing twice, and she was like, oh, Lessons in Chemistry isn't really historical fiction. And I was like, it takes place in the 60s, so absolutely, yes it is.
And it's been popular. It's another one with a mini-series.
Absolutely, which should we say we'll be discussing in our bonus episode?
I think we can. One of us will be watching this, and the other will be watching a different miniseries.
I will say, I haven't seen it. Here's something negative I have to say about it. It's on Apple TV.
I have something negative to say about it, too.
I know what you're going to say.
Okay, is it the fact that the dog is a golden doodle, and apparently golden doodles weren't invented in the 60s?
Yes.
That's all I've heard about the show. That's actually all I knew about the book going into it.
That there was a dog in it and the dog was not a golden doodle?
Yes, because of the show, because I saw backlash on Twitter.
Well, but what I have to say to that is that golden doodle is an actor that works very hard, and he deserves his role.
You know, and when you have Grace complimenting a dog, it's crazy time out here.
What do I have here explicitly in my notes? You know a book is working overtime when I like the dog.
And the dog isn't the only likable character, i.e. Taya Cooper.
And the multiple dogs that had the same name. And we thought the dog just lived for like 50 years. Yeah.
That was so great. That happened to me again in a book I just read.
Oh, man. I guess people do in real life. I know people who they just name all their dogs the same name.
Oh, when I have Flynn the second, Flynn the third, Flynn the fourth. Yeah.
But I guess we just have to be really tuned into the timeline to not be like, wait a minute.
And we were not for Taya Cooper. But anyways, anything going on in your life?
I have been very happily binging My Lady Jane on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
It is very ridiculous. I am obsessed with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I highly recommend that everyone watch it. If you like Bridgerton or anything wacky, you'll like it.
Okay, that's a pretty broad category. I finally finished Bridgerton this week. It took me so long to get through part 2.
Yeah.
Not through any fault of this. I did enjoy the season. I just didn't have time.
It's also, they pack so many storylines in, and each episode is a full hour. It's not like 45 minutes. So I feel like it's a lot of work to watch an episode of Bridgerton sometimes.
Yeah, it was. And then I was watching it, like, trying to focus on other things at the same time.
It doesn't work.
No, you need full attention for that many storylines.
Yeah.
I have something that's not exciting to share other than in my notes I put final ep of the season, ? We have hit the month anniversary of me and Santiago not having a washer dryer because our landlord won't fucking fix it.
I was going to ask. We're still not fixed?
God, we followed up with her for the past 3 days and we're like, hey, following up on the above. Nothing. She's just not texting us back at this point. So she's paying for us to do like a really expensive laundry delivery service and we just take it off of our rent every month.
So she just like doesn't care because now she's like, okay, well, I'm doing that. So.
But it's such an inconvenience. And she was like, okay, I'm going to order this part for the handyman to like fix the wiring. You need a new button. And we're like, this makes no sense. It's a plastic button cap that came. It's not even wires. And we're like, what is this going to do? So it's going to be probably another month before we get it fixed. Unlike your landlord who immediately got you a new washer.
Yeah, our dryer stopped and we just got a whole new unit and it was in within the week.
Everyone hates doing like laundry, putting away clothes. I never realized how much I miss being able to.
Yeah, it's even more of an inconvenience when it's not there.
No, and then like Santiago is very particular with some of the laundry.
Mm-hmm.
And that does track. And now that we have to like outsource it, it's so annoying. That's
so unfortunate. Just another example, like we learned in Lessons in Chemistry, how traditionally feminine labor is so undervalued in our society.
Exactly. Yes, welcome to Lessons in Chemistry, more like Intro to Feminism 101, this episode. Anyways, are you reading anything else that is good right now?
I am. So, update for you as of today. I still do not have an iPad that works.
Okay.
We're working on it, though. The Office of Risk Assessment has received my claim.
Love.
I have been assigned a caseworker whose name I think is Robert.
Okay.
It'll be a while. That was the thing. Like, last time you were like, oh, like, they'll pay for it, so it's like no harm, no foul. And I was like, it has to go through bureaucracy, though.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Oh my God. This is not what I was going to talk about, but speaking of going through bureaucracy to try and order things, I just went through a fucking 2-month journey to order swag for the top performers of my employee advocacy program. And it was the biggest nightmare I've ever dealt with in my life.
Has it come?
No. I think they just started producing it. It's going to ship this week. But it also has to ship to like 7 different countries.
Oh.
Sidebar, some people's addresses are just in other countries very long. There's like many, many more parts to it.
Okay.
However, I specifically ordered, because I also ordered it for myself as a contributor, a 6-can cooler and an outdoor blanket because Santiago and I really need that.
Well, listen, when you have power, you get to use the power.
Exactly. I was like looking through, I'm like, I don't need another cup. I don't need another mug. So.
Well, like, you know, there's global warming. There's a heat wave. Like,
Exactly.
people need coolers. People
Exactly.
need blankets to sit outside.
But yeah, so that's nice. But I have been reading. I know you always laugh about it.
Well, Erin, I had a story. I didn't get to finish my story.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anyway, I was saying because I don't have an iPad, I came to the library.
I totally cut you off.
Yeah, you did. Anyway, I came to the library and I checked out a bunch of books that I have ebooks of just to have in case I want to read them. But while I was here, I picked up a book that I do not own, which it's an essay collection called Lolita in the Afterlife.
Grace loves an essay collection.
Listen, I am an intelligent woman. I love literary analysis. But it's just about like the people analyzing like the legacy and the impact of Lolita, the novel. Okay. And I have listened to a great podcast, literally it's just called Lolita Podcast, that is like to that effect. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a really interesting topic because so many people just hit on it from so many different perspectives and so many people interpret that book not correctly, I think.
Like J.K. Rowling?
Huh?
Didn't J.K. Rowling just say something weird about that book?
Oh, God. Don't tell me. I'm not looking that up.
Every day is like she has something else weird.
I don't care. Whatever. I don't care what she has to say.
Just like, keep your mouth shut.
She did not get invited to write in this essay collection. Anyway, but I tried to get it like a year ago digitally as an ebook.
Damn.
And no one has it. Fair, it's not that popular. And I thought I was going to have to go get it from like the Georgetown Library, like Georgetown like University. But luckily they had it here at good old MLK.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, it's been good so far. I'll probably finish it when I get home. What about you? What are you reading?
So sorry for interrupting you before. I genuinely am just very tired and thought the story was over.
It's the end of a long season.
It's the end of a long season. It's the end of an even longer day. But I, as you always like to joke about, have been reading so many podcast authors.
And I admire you for that.
I am not kidding. Basically, the majority of books I've read recently. So, currently, audiobook listening to The Wind Knows My Name by Isabel Allende.
And I've asked you not to talk to me about that one because I also own it and I'm going to read it. So I don't want any information.
It has made me cry in public, and that's all I will tell you.
Okay.
Much like the Four Winds. I was going to say Fourth Wing again. Damn it.
Oh my gosh.
Please.
I would love for someone to print out like a plot synopsis of Fourth Wing and give it to Kristen Hanna and like make her rewrite it and see what comes out.
I would love that.
I would be obsessed with that. Anyway, continue.
I also finished listening to The Nickel Boys, which I talked about last week, having read We Carry Their Bones.
Yes.
Loved The Nickel Boys. And again, it really emphasizes what I was saying on the Undergrad Railroad of the author is an incredibly talented writer. The reason why I didn't vibe with that book is I was just not in the mood for something heavy. The Nickel Boys was phenomenal.
I can't wait to read it. I definitely will soon.
I also now have The Women checked out on Libby because my hold was up and I'm like, I can't lose this one. It's going to be another 2 years.
Oh my God, absolutely.
So I'm excited for that. So I'm trying to whip through The Wind Knows My Name to get to that one. And then...
The Women being the new Kristen Hanna.
Yes. And then the book I read before all this was The Japanese Lover by Isabel Allende.
Okay.
And so far, counting The Wind Knows My Name, I've read 4 books by her. That was my least favorite.
Okay. It's an interesting topic.
It is, and there were just some scenes that were kind of like didn't sit well with me.
Yeah. Kind of like Lolita.
Yes.
It's for some people, it's not for all people.
But yeah, so I've just been on my pod author grind again, like very unintentionally, and then I was trying to think about what I'm reading, and I'm like, every single book I've read recently.
Well, Bonnie Garmus needs to get back on her book grind because right now this is her only book.
When did this come out?
2022.
Okay, so
it's like
she's got time. She could be in the works.
Reasonable, but like she needs to be producing other books for you to read so that you can complete your collection of pod author rereads.
I know. I need to keep going. Except there's some authors I do not want to reread.
We know who they are.
We know. We don't need to say names here.
All right, let's hop into the synopsis so we can start talking lessons in chemistry because this is going to be a bit of a longer episode because we're going to do our season recap at the end.
Hell yeah, and we have not given each other sneak peeks in advance.
No, absolutely not. So here is the plot of Lessons in Chemistry. Chemist Elizabeth Zott is not your average woman.
She's so not like other girls.
Don't interrupt me. In fact, Elizabeth Zott would be the first to point out that there is no such thing as an average woman. But it's the early 1960s, and her all-male team at Hastings Research Institute takes a very unscientific view of equality. Except for one, Calvin Evans, the lonely, brilliant, Nobel Prize-nominated grudge holder who falls in love with, of all things, her mind. True chemistry results. But, like science, life is unpredictable, which is why a few years later, Elizabeth Zott finds herself not only a single mother, but the reluctant star of America's most beloved cooking show, Supper at 6. Elizabeth's unusual approach to cooking proves revolutionary. But as her following grows, not everyone is happy. Because as it turns out, Elizabeth Zott isn't just teaching women to cook, she's daring them to change the status quo.
That is a great synopsis.
Her only crime was to be an independent woman.
Okay.
If it slayed.
Okay. Yes, unfortunately.
Well, also, I feel like we could honestly do a whole bonus episode talking about the synopses because so many of these were like, this is really long and it tells you too much. This one just tells you the author's really great. This is the plot of the book in a succinct manner that doesn't tell you too much.
This is a really good one.
Yeah. So I did cut out, there was one of those lines at the bottom that was like, Bonnie Garmus's spellbinding tale of like, so I cut that out because I was like, it's not relevant.
It's like how I left it in for the book thief because it was relevant to me.
Sorry, Bonnie. I do think your book is good. But yeah, so Bonnie Garmus this was her debut, and I would love to say this was her debut book that came out when she was aged 65.
Which is incredible, and women really can do it all at any age.
Absolutely. So her career, she is from Seattle, and she was a copywriter.
Okay.
So she was in the, steeped in language her whole life. But something that sparked this book was she had like a big presentation, and a male coworker took one of her ideas as his own. So
happens to me on the daily.
Like,
I get it, girl.
Women in the workplace, it's not just for chemists, it's for everybody, unfortunately.
And unfortunately it's still happening in the 2020s.
Yeah. To us and to Bonnie, but but she, much like Elizabeth and Calvin in the book, not getting ahead of ourselves, she's a rower, so she gave Elizabeth that hobby. This is the thing that interests me. She lives in London with her husband and her dog, and the dog's name is 99.
Okay.
The dog in the book also has a number. The dog is named 630 in the book. But it's because it's a stray dog, and when they meet the dog, or not a stray, we'll get into that. When they meet the dog, it's 6:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, what happened to this dog to be named 99? Like, because clearly something happened.
There's a restaurant chain called 99 Diner up in Boston area.
Yeah, sure. Their London dog was at 99 in Boston.
Could be it.
I'm just like, I don't know. Bonnie, I would love to hear the story. Maybe if I Googled it, she would have told it on a talk show.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, I mean, we can kind of skip the familiarity section because she doesn't have any other books, and neither of us have watched the show. I did read the book in 2022.
Okay, so you had read it before. I had not read it before. Like I said, the only thing I knew about it was the golden doodle in the show. And
I will say, frankly, the only reason I have not watched the show because it looks
Grace
really good.
Hates Apple TV.
Well, it's not even that I hate Apple TV. It's that I did not have access to Apple TV. And I don't mean, I wasn't paying for it. My parents paid for it. I just could not figure out how to log in. But it stars Brie Larson. Like, I want to watch it.
Yeah.
Like, so I probably will.
This is one of those books, like, we have a lot of miniseries this season, lots of movies. I don't think everything that was made into something translates into its form. Like, The Underground Railroad, still grappling with how that's a miniseries.
We would have to watch it and see.
This one, easily, I could see how it goes.
Yes. This one, I think, does lend itself well to that because there are a lot of things that happen in stages where you don't expect them to. Like, not to provide spoilers for other people. If you're watching Lost on Netflix, look away. But Erin, you know this. It's like when you're watching the first season of Lost and you're like, this is a normal TV show by the conventions of the year in which it has come out. And then Boone dies and you're like, oh, all bets are off.
Oh, yeah.
Anything could happen to anyone at any time.
Oh, yeah. And then it does.
So watch Lost on Netflix.
We started season 3 and the funniest thing happened because it starts with seeing like Juliet's beautiful house and she's having a book club. And Santiago's like, wow, this is such a nice house. She must live in California. And then the plane crashes and he realizes she's on the island.
I love when shit like that happens.
It was such a good reveal because I remember my first time watching it. I was like, oh, this is like probably in...
Or like when you find out what's in the hatch.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so disclaimer real quick, we're judging the book and not any historical figures they may have been based on. No historical figures in this book, but we're just taking it as a, not gospel of the time period, but, this is in the 60s.
Yeah.
So, there's that.
Can I start with my favorite subject? Pacing.
You may.
Pacing. Chef's kiss in this book, so good.
This is the same thing that I said about Kristen Hanna in The Four Winds. Whatever, I don't know what's in it, but with something with the language, the way that the chapters are broken up, the way the plot is dispersed, it keeps you turning the pages.
For me, I know what did it in this one.
Ooh, okay.
For me, this book was very dialogue heavy, which I like, especially when the characters are pretty witty and it's like a fun conversation to read. I whipped through it.
Yeah, there was a lot of dialogue. And they introduce and remove and reintroduce, we'll get into that, different characters at various points. So it's a dynamic story. You're always moving, you're going somewhere new. And that really does, when you see the book, I think the hardcover, they've done, I have mine right here, they've done that thing where the paper's a little thick and the margins are a little small.
Yeah.
So it looks decently chunky.
It's also the most glaringly neon cover. I really don't like the cover.
I love coral.
It's
Sorry.
Just
do you want to know why?
Why?
The sole reason I love coral.
Why?
Because it looks great on me when I have a tan.
Okay, fair. Valid. I can see that.
Yeah.
For me, it's I have a blue light protection on my glasses, which I shouldn't have gotten because it makes when certain bright colors are layered, it looks really weird, and this is one of them for me.
Okay. So sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my fault, but it's not the book's fault either.
Yeah. But I think also the structure is really good. You begin knowing that Elizabeth is going to be a single mother. She's on this cooking show. And then you go back to her at the beginning of the story before she's even met Calvin, and you're how do you get there? You're interested in that journey because she is not a character that you would think would end up hosting a cooking show.
No.
But the thing that gets me about this book is, like you said, it's very dialogue heavy. That's because I think what makes this book good and lovable and why so many people loved it, I didn't list kind of the same thing that we talked about with The Book Thief, is it had a lot of accolades, but not a Pulitzer or a National Book Award. But this was the Barnes & Noble Book of the Year 2023. This was, I think, for the DC Library, even in 2023, the year after it came out, it was the most checked out book in this whole library system. Yeah. People are reading and reading and reading this, which is why when we were organizing our book list, I placed it, I wanted it to be at the end of the season because I think it's a big name recently.
Yeah.
A lot of our other books made a big splash, but not The Book Thief, The Kite Runner. Their time to peak has kind of come. And I think we're just coming off the peak of this book. I've lost my thought. But I was trying to get to the plot is not what draws you to this book, it's the characters.
I agree.
There's some really indelible characters. I think when I come back to this book in the future, all of them are kind of quirky. So I'll remember there's Elizabeth and Calvin, there's their daughter Mad, the dog 630.
Oh my god.
The neighbor, the nun.
The daughter, you mean young Sheldon if he slayed.
Absolutely.
That's the only thing I was thinking about when I was reading about
I knew, I was there is going to be so much young Sheldon discussion on this episode of the podcast from
Look,
you.
if you want me to go on a tangent, if you want to do a bonus episode on young Sheldon, me relating it somehow to every single book.
Okay, here, I think this is actually a good talking point to discuss a little bit of where we differ. Yes. Because I enjoyed this book more than you.
You did, yeah.
This is not a flop from either of us.
No.
Neither of us hated the book. but the kind of the shtick, the young Sheldon-y kind of shtick of it, where it's like the like awkward genius media is what I've labeled it as. We had like slightly different interpretations of the effectiveness of it.
I think, and I'm going to kind of combine it to the joke I made about it being intro to feminism. It's not so much the book itself that I had things that annoyed me with. It's what I had heard about the book going in. It's kind of like, remember when Barbie came out and it was a whole debate over like,
is Barbie feminist?
Is Barbie feminist? Like, this is so basic. And then people were like, this is revolutionary. This is definitely like intro to feminism. It's very much like, you're saying that because I'm a woman, blah, 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 which is true, which is what's happening in the character, which is fine and I have no issue with. Not every novel needs to be revolutionary, feminist lit, or needs to be like women in STEM revolutionary. But I just heard this book being pretty high feminism and being pretty high level, like that, what you called the awkward genius media. And I didn't think it was to the effect that I heard it was. So it's more like questioning other people's reviews that kind of gave me some false assumptions going in.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, this is not doing anything extraordinary in terms of teaching you that.
And again, I think it's wrong to assume that every book has to.
I also agree about that. And I will say, this is not to tip my hand too much into talking about the show, but something I do know about the show. In the book, when she's a single mother and she's struggling to raise her daughter, because, like, you know, motherhood is hard, especially if you're alone.
Especially in the 60s.
Exactly. And she makes a dear friend who is, like, an older neighbor woman who comes over and, like, helps her and is, like, it just gives her a sense of community. Yeah, great character. And she, I thought, provided great contrast because she was not, like, a super smart scientist. She was, like, she was a lady, you know, like what a normal neighborhood lady you would think would be like. But in the show, it's a young black woman, like a black woman of her same age. And the recognizing their struggles on, like, two different planes, I think, is part of what they incorporate into the show. Yeah. So I think they do some work to be like, this is a good foundation with our, like, you know, written directly from something inspired in Bonnie Garmus's experience. And now, like, we have a team behind it. What can we do to expand like the work that the book foundationally started?
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. So is it intro? Absolutely. I think you're right when it's like, it's the fault of, like, the zeitgeist to be like, every woman needs to read this, when at this point, like, if you've read or seen some other feminist media, you're not going to get, like,
you're going to get the same lesson.
You're not going to get more info out of this. I will say there is a scene of the first time I not so much the second time I've read it because I was prepared for it, but the first time I read the scene of Elizabeth being assaulted in her grad program, that was really, like, visceral. Like, I didn't expect it to go that graphic, and it did. In the grand scheme of things, it wasn't too bad. Like, it didn't compare to, like, Half of a Yellow Sun or anything like that. But it was more than I thought that we were going to get, and it did, like, really give me, like, a whoa.
Yeah, I agree with that. The other thing I wanted to say on the awkward genius media, something that it didn't work for me at all in this book, and it doesn't work for me all the time, but when she was like, okay, so she was learning to row and, like, getting comfortable cooking, and she was basically just like, oh my god, it's just science. If I use force to do this, and if I combine these ingredients, like, I hate that. I'm like, that's just not, it didn't feel realistic to me. Like, come on.
Here's what I think about that. So I agree that often that trope is really eye-rolly. Yeah. And I think that's what people kind of divide. I'm going to make such a good comparison here. You're going to be so impressed with me. It's like how people have different opinions on young Sheldon versus The Big Bang Theory.
I have different opinions on them.
Exactly. So I think for me, at least, that, like, annoying, grating, like, quality is present, I'm sure, to a degree in both, but I associate it more with the original Big Bang Theory. But not with young Sheldon because the characters are all lovable. Yeah. With this, I think that there's not an implication here because the characters are so diverse. Like, you have the three, you have Mad and Elizabeth and Calvin, who are these, like, awkward geniuses, quote unquote. But then you have the priest who's, like, you know, a normal priest who's struggling with his faith. You have the neighbor lady. You have the producer of the TV show who is a single dad of one of the daughters at school.
Okay, let me just interject. Walter was probably one of my favorite characters. Is he the best person? No, he's like fucking up a lot of stuff. But he is trying really hard he's a single dad, he's trying really hard to love and give his child what she needs. And we need more of that in these books.
Yeah, and also his daughter was like not biologically his, and he was like, I don't care.
He's like,
that's my little girl. But I think because you have those other characters, the narrative is not telling you like Elizabeth and Calvin is who you should be like. They're showing you like these are their people with their individual quirks. They're not forefronting them. What they do have forefronted is that they aren't sexist.
Yeah.
As opposed to a lot of the other characters that you meet at the Research Institute who are not, I won't say evil, but, you know, not presented in nice lights.
The antagonists.
Yes. But you have these other characters who don't share those, like, smart characteristics who you are supposed to love, just like Mima and young Sheldon.
Yeah, I love Mima.
Exactly. So that's what I felt. I was like, what can I put my finger on? Because I think so
really
often,
good way to put it.
I was like, so often this doesn't work. And there were a couple moments, like I remember when we were on the train to New York, we were reading this book, and she like had like a page describing how she made her coffee through like a Bunsen burner and stuff. And I'm like, okay, like that's like you're working it for sure. But it does like it worked for me. I don't know. I completely understand how it could not work for other people.
Yeah.
But it was fine for me.
It just, like, gets on my nerves. It's also, like, in Young Sheldon is how Sheldon is the most unlikable. Like, you're just, like, annoyed with him. And then in the later seasons, it's, like, he's barely even in it.
Because all the other characters are better?
Yeah, it's kind of how I felt with this. But
yeah. And Georgie and Mandy get the spinoff and not him.
I know. Well, I mean, he already had his.
Well, fine.
Something on the topic of characters, I'm just going to stick with it.
Okay.
On the topic of antagonists specifically, there were kind of two groups, right? So there were just kind of the general haters, as I call that, which is sometimes you get their perspectives and they're like, oh, Elizabeth, like, what a bitch. Like, ew, look at them eating lunch together. And I loved those sections because I thought they were really funny. And they just felt very real of just, like, shit-talky. Like, we have people who we don't know and we just are, like, obsessed with them and talk about them, you know?
Yeah, as Taylor Swift says, people throw rocks at things that shine.
Exactly. So I liked those. And then you had the more
sinister
antagonists. But for, like, you would have the bishop, and I'm going to correct you, the priest you had mentioned was Reverend.
Sorry, thank you.
Yes, because there are priests who are very antagonistic in this.
You're right. So it is different. You're right.
You have the misogynistic bosses, the predator studio owner. For me, the antagonists fell kind of flat. They were all horrible. They did very bad things. A lot of abuse, a lot of sexual abuse, lots of misogyny and verbal abuse. But they fell kind of flat because they were
one note.
They were caricature. You don't even have to cut that because I'm just bad at saying that word. They were caricatures. And they just felt like, and of course, caricatures exist because people do fall into these stereotypes. Like, but then it just felt like every single one of them, like the studio producer who was trying to assault her, the boss who fired her because she was pregnant, the abusive bishop. It's like, they were such just broad categories that they felt so flat to me.
I think I'll agree with you on all of the cases except for her direct boss. Because the other people, frankly, they did not appear in the book for very long. Yeah. They each only got like a few sections of page. And especially, we'll come back to the bishop later because I want to discuss that plot line a little. But the boss, who we get his perspective a little bit repeatedly like throughout the book, and he is very one note, but I think the point of that is to exaggerate like how narrow-minded people think. Like you're just there, she's illustrating something, and I think it works because so much of this book is exaggerated. Like we haven't really touched on, it's like kind of kooky in its tone.
It kind of is kooky, and Grace loves something kooky.
I do. But, like, you get that exaggeration through the whole book of, like, the dog is just, like, excessively smart.
Okay, I love the dog. They're teaching... Sidebar on the dog real fast. They're teaching him words, and he can understand, like, 500 words.
Yeah.
And you get his perspective sometimes.
So, like, in real life, like, could you just, like, let a dog watch your 2-year-old child? Like, no. In this book, you can, because the dog's really smart. Like, there's just a lot of things like that.
Flynn would burn the house down.
Flynn would not be in charge of a baby well. But, like, so I think that because the other people are characterized that way, the narrowing in on that character who it's just like the sick like logic of the world is bad people are like things are going to go bad, like bad people are going to be in charge of things, like stupid people succeed over smart people, like all of that. And I think what the evil boss character, I think he illustrated that successfully, because at every turn when you think like she's nearing like the ability to progress in her research and her job and her thing that she loves, like then he's right there to smack her back down.
And it's really interesting what you had said about the author kind of getting this idea after a male colleague stole her work, stole her ideas. And that's central to what makes the boss so evil. He's like stealing her research.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that matters to her the most.
Yeah.
So let's real quick do just a quick talk about the plot connected to the bishop. Because this was like I feel like the most, I don't want to say contrived.
I will say
hard
contrived.
to believe part of the whole plot.
Something that I have is that the ending got wrapped up way too neatly, and that was primarily the aspect of it for me.
Mm-hmm. For me, again, I didn't have a problem with that because this is just like, for some books you go in knowing they're going to be wrapped up tight as a bow.
Yeah.
And this is just like one of those books, I think. But there's this whole plot about Calvin believing that he was orphaned, comes to find out later he had a relative who was like, who gave him away like knowingly, and he thinks that like he carries hatred his whole life for that person. And then at the end it's his mother who was forced to give him up as the result of a teen pregnancy, who's been like looking for him this whole time.
And is also super wealthy and wants to give him money for his research.
That's the thing that you're kind of like, okay, like,
you're like, oh, that's
because that's how
nice.
That's how Elizabeth is able to get back to doing her chemistry and leaves her cooking show. Yeah. So that
was the part for me. I was like, that was what wrapped it up too nicely for me.
Yeah. And I wasn't even looking for necessarily that as closure, because when they reintroduced it at the very end to like resolve that thread, I was like, oh my God, yeah, I forgot about that. Because I was just so invested in like Elizabeth and her daughter's happiness.
Yeah.
Like as long as they were able to picture them going off into the sunset for the rest of their life, I was okay.
Yeah.
But for me, I like where the ending came where the rich relative pops up. But for me, the emotional end to the book is when she does her last cooking show. And
can we talk for a bit about how she got to her cook? Because I do think we have not given our listeners a
plot
summary.
So, but we haven't even clarified that Calvin's dead.
Yeah, Calvin, like,
in the middle of the book, which is what I was saying. It's like season 1 when Boone dies. Calvin dies in the middle of the book.
I was in shock because how it builds up is like, you think he left her. No, he died. He gets like hit by a car. Yeah, and neither of them knew that she was pregnant when that happened. But he gets hit by a car. They're living together, but crucially not married because she's like, I'm a woman and I'm afraid of what marriage like implies for me. Like, I don't want to get married and like take your name and all of that. Especially as a researcher. Like, and especially because he is very famous in the science world, and there's already the thing of like, oh, well, your husband is just doing all your work. He's doing it for you, like. Yeah, so they're not married, but she's pregnant, which is why she gets fired. But she scrapes by as a single mother. She sends her daughter to school. And she basically becomes a consultant for all of the chemists who are bad at their job at her old company. The shitty men, yeah. And she's like scraping by that way. And it's been throughout the whole book that Elizabeth is a very good cook. Because cooking is just science, as Erin has pointed out for us. But she like packs these really great lunches for her daughter, and her daughter gives them to basically her only friend, who is the daughter of the guy who works at the TV studio, because he's like a single dad and he's trying his best, but he'll put like one can of beer in his daughter's lunch and be like, go to school, honey. Like, so she goes down to the studio and is like, hey, you mister, like, how dare you? Your daughter is taking my daughter's lunch. Like, you need to fix that. And he's like, oh my God, do you want to be on TV? Yeah, like, because he's about to like get fired because he needs to fill this time slot. Yeah, and so he's like, I'm going to put you on please. TV. And she's like, that sounds like a terrible idea. And he's like, I will pay you more money than you have now. And she's like, okay, I have like a daughter, so I have to. But, you know. So the show starts that way, but it really is about, again, for me, strikes a really good balance of telling women that they can do whatever they want,
she has like a live studio audience and she has Q&As and she's like, why is there a reason that you think you can't go to medical school? Like, you're smart enough. Like, can't you take the MCAT and go? Like, things like that. But also, she's cooking. She's demonstrating that feeding yourself and your family something nutritious is a worthwhile pursuit. Like, it's not tearing down that aspect of it either. There's a whole little subplot where she gets 1960s canceled because she says on TV that she's an atheist. And even when the lady who asks her, like, what kind of prayer do you say over your dinner? Like, she doesn't shame that lady. No. She's just like, oh, like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
So
not 1960s canceled.
Well, they didn't say canceled then. But, like, it shows both of those different aspects of, like, what women can pursue with their lives.
I really like that it doesn't demean, like, the women who are not watching it for the science or watching it for cooking.
She has a tagline at the end of every show. She says, children set the table. Your mother needs a moment to herself, which I enjoy.
Super cute.
But then at the end, like, it's wrapped up again in, like, a neat little bow. She finishes her last show, and I think she says, this has been Intro to Chemistry, like, class dismissed.
Yeah, something
and
like
it was
that.
real cute, and I liked it. So I was very happy for that, like, little female camaraderie. That. Yeah. I enjoyed the show. You always see that Elizabeth, she loves her daughter and wouldn't change anything, but she never wanted to be a mother, and she's always kind of uncomfortable being a mother. She is on her show, and it's bringing value to a lot of people, but it's not what she chooses to do, and she's doing it because she needs the money for her daughter, and when she can leave to do her research, she does. Like, things like that. You get that ambivalence in those plot lines. It's not super straightforward.
Yeah, because she doesn't lose her identity and her interests and pursuits.
She actually is, when you think about it, relatively static as a character. Yeah. Like, a lot happens to her, but she doesn't evolve as, like, a person, really. She gains, she has more friends. She has a bigger circle around her.
It's more like her impact on others, too.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all in all, this worked out for me. I was really worried that, like, I would come back, or not really, it wasn't keeping me awake at night, but that I would come back to it and think less of it than the first time that I read it.
I actually think talking through it right now has made me like it more.
I've just been aggressive at you about what I think.
And you put it so well that I do get swayed.
Yeah, but we'll come back to this a little bit when I do the calculator, but I think I did end up even liking it more the second time.
I went back and I revised my storygraph ranking.
Because I did think in my head, like, I was like, oh, it is kind of feminism 101. But then when you read the book, you're like, it's not claiming to be anything other than that.
No, that's just what people have said about it, that it's like, oh, this is a revolution. At least from what I've heard about it.
Yeah.
And that is more of my issue with it. I'm like,
the comparison to Barbie was a really good one.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be revolutionary.
No. We've read a lot of other books this season that have similar themes that are in different times and cultures and different levels of complexity. And, like, we have a lot of this in, like, other forms. So
what would you say, this is very off topic, is the most feminist book we've read?
Oh, God.
On the pod. Which is kind of an insane question.
Well, frankly, at this point, we've read so many pod books that I want to, like, pull up a list of all of them so I can see. I am
pulling up a list of all of them right now.
I'm going to pull up the list and look, but I will say my knee jerk when you said that was Violetta.
Mine was The Henna Artist.
You know what? I think we're both right.
Let
me see. What else do I want to toss out there?
Other acceptable answers, I would have taken The Four Winds. I would have taken
The Spy. Her only crime was to be an independent woman.
Oh my God. If it was what it claimed to be. Probably would have taken Snowflower and The Secret Fan.
Snowflower's pretty good. That one, like we said it as a strength at the time, but, like, that was about women that kind of, like, kept to their lane.
Yeah.
So you're not getting, like, the diversity of experience, which you're not getting in Lessons in Chemistry either. Yeah, I will say
Cartographer's Secret wants to be.
Honestly, yes. I would say I think those are the top two. Yeah. I would say Violetta and The Henna Artist.
Yeah. Which is funny because The Henna Artist we don't really go back to that often.
No, I mean I can't say that I think about it a lot, but I do continue to agree with what we said in that episode, which is that all of the strengths of that book are in Lakshmi, the central character. Yeah. Then that's where a lot of that comes from. And there are a lot of side characters in that book that are women that are all very different, which I think also contributes to that.
Radha, the evil preteen.
And I enjoy in Violetta how it's one woman over her whole life, and she has the opportunity to, like, change and be wrong and like all of that. So I think that is a really good one
I think
to read.
in two different representations.
Yeah, it just like a lot of times you read a female character and you're like, this is not a real woman, or like this is a woman like written by a man, or like this is a woman written by, you know, a woman who has only been exposed to like really narrow representations of other women. Violetta is such a complex figure. Complex. And in Lessons in Chemistry, I feel like you don't quite get to that depth because it's a little bit, like I said, it's a little kookier. It's a little bit more cartoony of a book. But I think you get depths to Elizabeth Zott. Yeah. So.
Anyways, just thought that would be a fun question.
That was fun. Thank you for posing it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the historical accuracy.
Before we do, I see one note you mentioned that we did not discuss.
Okay.
Chapter titles. Love chapter titles in the book. Not done enough.
No, they aren't. I will not pretend they're crazy long or complex chapter titles. They'll just be like faith, dinner time, life and death, like life, like life magazine.
It feels like such an old school writing thing.
I just want chapter titles back.
I just enjoy it.
Like, come on. Yeah. So absolutely thumbs up, 2 thumbs up to Bonnie Garmus for chapter titles.
Thank you for doing that.
If chapter titles was a category on our calculator, you would get 5 stars.
Okay, now we can do historical accuracy.
Okay, I don't have a ton here because, like I said, this is more of a, like, there are no figures or just kind of in the vibe of the 60s, historical figures. But I'm going to talk a teeny bit about cooking shows and a teeny bit about women in STEM. So I figure that's covering all of our bases, right? Mm-hmm. I kind of took the approach that I did to doing the history as in the Bridgerton episode, where it's like, this is really just about atmosphere.
Yeah, that's
like,
fine.
That's kind of the broader point. So the history of cooking shows.
Okay.
So for a while, they were popular on the radio before TV was really widespread. The first...
You know, I never considered that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, we just literally don't think about the radio anymore. But
the radio was actually huge.
It was the biggest thing. Yeah.
Okay, let's just ask Werner about the radio.
Yeah. Poor thing. But the first cooking show in the U.S. debuted on the radio. It was the Betty Crocker Cooking School of the Air.
Incredible title.
Yeah, because it was on air, right, in 1924. But what is considered to be the first cooking show in, like, the world was Cookery in England in 1946. The first American cooking show is I Love to Eat with James Beard, famous James Beard Awards named after him. Mm-hmm. But what I consider to be, like, the analog for Supper at 6 is The French Chef with Julia Child.
That's the vibe I got from it as well.
It came out in the early 60s, and The French Chef was actually, I think, only the 4th U.S. cooking show on TV. Like, it took a while for the train to really get going on that. And the first, like, phenomenon was definitely Julia Child in that TV cooking space. And I want to say this is a very, like, tenuous connection. Bonnie Garmus does not attempt to make Elizabeth Zott a Julia Child.
And I think better for it.
Yeah, and The French Chef is not Supper at 6. Like, they have things in common, which I have noted. The French Chef popularized French food. At the time, it was really thought to be too fancy and labor-intensive for the average at-home chef. But she really emphasized using fresh ingredients, which is also something that happens in the book.
If you don't have fresh, store-bought is fine.
But Julia Child was very popular and beloved among women, and they ended their show with a tagline. Famously, Julia Child's was Bon Appetit, which, you know, shortened to the point.
Yes.
But I think this is really just supposed to be representing a cooking show being popular at the same time that Julia Child was popular. And that's the, I think, extent of the parallels that Bonnie Garmus is trying to draw.
Very much sidebar on Julia Child. Do you remember the movie Julie and Julia?
Yes, but I haven't seen it.
It's like this woman, and it was, I think, based off a real story. And
this
could be wildly wrong. But she wrote a book, like detailing her, like, going through Julia Child's, like, cooking and, like, cooking all of her recipes. And then she asked to meet Julia Child, and Julia Child said no.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Which was crazy.
What I do know about that movie is that Julia Child was played by Meryl Streep in that film, and Julia Child is famously very tall. And so they built like a special kitchen set for Meryl Streep where all the counters were like too low, so it would make her look really tall.
I did not know that.
I think about that a lot. But
That's very funny.
We should definitely watch Julie and Julia because I think it's really good.
We also ended with a tagline.
My mom will be not happy if I don't shout this out. There is a mini series called Julia, just like about Julia Child. That's supposed to be very good.
Oh, I think my mom watched that.
I think it's on HBO Max. I'm not surprised because our mothers seem very similar.
Our mothers do seem very similar.
Yeah. But yes, so I also haven't watched that, but you should. Anyway. Let's get back. That's kind of all I have in terms of cooking shows, because it's really just to provide color in the book.
Yeah.
But I have some women in the workforce, women in STEM stories to touch on. And I kind of decided to take the approach of where were we in terms of like workplace gender rights
that is
this time. Yeah. So up until 1965, the want ads, like when you open up the paper, they would be sectioned off for women and men, like they would be separate sections. And it was not until in 1964 the landmark Civil Rights Act was passed, and it made that practice illegal for dividing them in terms of race. So then that rose the question of like, well, if you can't discriminate in this way, is it legal to discriminate by gender? And it took them a year to parse it out, and then they decided, no, it's not.
Yeah.
So in 65, that practice ended. If you advertised a job, it was just
a
job for everybody to apply for. And kind of like we hear with the stories like Rosie the Riveter, more and more women got jobs in science during World War II.
Yeah,
and this is like a no-brainer. I just like hadn't thought of that before. But more and more women had science jobs during the war. And then after the war ended and the men came home, they were pushed out.
Boo!
Yeah, exactly. So women really had to self-advocate for themselves. There were a lot of different organizations like the Society of Women Engineers that were advocating for women's presence in science. And I really can't say if Bonnie Garmus like researched any of these women specifically, but I read a lot of quotes that sounded just like similar to the way that Elizabeth Zott would talk. I did note down one story from this kind of period arose the female science sorority Sigma Delta Epsilon, which started to award fellowships to women in STEM. Right. And one of them specifically went to a woman, a scientist named Joanne Mueller, who, much like Elizabeth does in the book, builds a science lab in her house.
I love that.
So she can continue doing her work for 40 hours a week. Oh my God, I didn't finish my sentence in my notes. Luckily, I remember. But she did her work for 40 hours a week and supported herself on the money from SDE while raising her 1-year-old.
Wow, that's great.
So she was the OG work from home queen.
So I feel like Bonnie was definitely influenced, like knowledge of that.
Yeah, I feel like there's no way she didn't know. Like we don't have proof, but I feel like she didn't know that, or like she looked.
Yeah,
that
researched it.
I'm deleting that because I made no sense when I said that sentence. There's no way that she didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
And I just want to top this off by saying I looked up how many women have won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. As of today, it is 8 women.
Wow.
Which is
not enough, but.
No. At least there's that.
That is a higher number than I thought it was, hence my wow.
Well, also, I will say, the very first was Marie Curie, famously. The second was Marie Curie's daughter, which I didn't know. I feel kind of bad that I wonder if she's, like, in her mom's shadow. But congratulations to her for being the second woman to win a Nobel Prize in Chemistry. But the most recent woman to win the Nobel Prize in Chemistry was Carolyn Bertozzi in the year 2022.
Wow.
So really recently. Congrats to Carolyn.
That's good. Do you know off the top of your head what for?
I looked it up and I could not explain it to you, so I decided not to attempt.
Very fair, and rather than us trying to dumb down her work, I think that's the better way to do it.
Yeah. If it was something that I could like easily rattle off, I would have.
Yeah.
That's
what I figured, and when I saw you didn't have it written, I'm like, it's gotta be something.
I can't explain the emphasis to you. I will say it's something called click chemistry. I don't know what that is.
You know, technically I'm a woman in STEM because I work for a tech company. However, I'm on the comm side, so...
So you probably also couldn't explain
No,
click
I probably
chemistry to me.
couldn't.
All right, so that's what I have. Should we hop into our calculator?
I think we should.
All right, so as always, we are ranking these books on historical accuracy, originality, characters, prose, and vibes. I can go ahead and go first.
Yeah, that sounds good.
For historical accuracy, I gave this a 3. Not necessarily that it's inaccurate. I just think that the role the history plays is not at the forefront of this book.
Yeah.
So I have opted to do that. And also just for things of like kind of taking the outline of the idea of the French chef just like as a cooking show and not elaborating. Again, like we said, I think it's the correct choice. It just doesn't center the history in this book, which is a choice that you're making, and that's fine as long as you think it produces a good book. Because in all my other categories, originality, characters, prose, and vibes, I am 5s across the board. These frankly are the specific things that I love this book for the most.
Those are all the things that you called out. And I feel like the originality, characters, prose lead into the vibes very naturally.
Exactly. So that gives me a total of 4.6. And as I alluded to earlier, when I read this book in 2022, I gave it a 4.25 on Storygraph. And this time around, I have edited it up to a 4.5.
I edited mine as well. I edited it up, and I will give that away after. So historical accuracy, I'm on the same page as you. I gave it a 3. For me, the history was much more about building the setting than anything else, which is fine. But, But
we can't go higher than that.
We can't go higher than that. Originality, 4. Characters, 4. Had a little bit of qualms with both. A little bit of things that made me cringe. Nothing bad. Prose, a 3. Because it was just much more dialogue driven, which is something I like. It's just that it makes prose as a category
it takes a hit.
It does take a hit. Vibes, 4. Overall, I had a nice time reading it. I enjoyed it. Is it my favorite book? No. Would I say, hey, you should read this book? I think you'd like it. Yeah.
You know what? Actually, I feel like I've had an aha moment because we just talked about it. I think this book is to you as the henna artist is to me.
Yeah.
It's just like a pleasant whatever book that you probably won't think that much about again.
Yeah, because our ratings were kind of flipped.
Yeah.
So that gives me a 3.6. Originally, I think I gave it a 3.25, and I upped it to a 3.75 when I was revisiting and typing up my notes.
Okay.
So this is one that the more I've sat with it, the more I've liked. I feel like Babel was the more I sat and thought about it, the less I liked it.
Okay. So I would say, fine, leaning 5, maybe 5.
Fine for me.
This is right on the edge. We're getting into it soon. I have 2 books. I have a few books this season that are right on the edge of 5 that I don't want to quite bump up there. And this is one of them.
Okay. How do we want to go through and do our overall ranking? Do we want to go back and forth? I think we should.
I really liked what we did last season where we did 3 at a time.
Oh, okay. Maybe we do.
Or do we do one? Do you want to do 1 at a time or because 15 is divisible by 3, 15 books this season.
Okay, let's do 3 at a time.
Okay. This is what I texted you was I don't know where any of our stuff is going to pan out except I know what we both have dead last.
Yes, and how I went through and did my list based on my Storygraph ratings. So I went through and double checked everything. And then I had a couple 5s, so I put that just in order of preference.
I have everything just ranked by vibes. I opened this list. I have a note on my phone.
Which is what we did for last season too. So.
I've kept it just going. Every time I read a book, I look at what I have so far and I'm I think I liked it less than this and more than this, and I put it in there. So mine is not based on numbers. I do have 2 that I would say are tied, and I'll get there when we get there.
All right. So starting at 15,
dead last.
You can go first. You can do your last 3.
Okay. Wait. First, sorry. Do we want to say how many 5s, fines, and flops?
Oh yeah. Okay. Where am I rounding it? Hang on. Let me see where I'm rounding it.
I have 4 5s. 1 flop and 10 fines. Of the 10 fines, 2 are borderline 5.
Okay. I have 5 5s. I have 3 flops. And I have 6 through 12 are I have 6 through 12 as fines.
Okay. So I'll do my...
And I don't think I really have any border.
Okay. My bottom 3, already we're going to go crazy, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Number 15, last place, Love in the Time of Cholera.
Hannah comes back here and beats us up immediately.
Hannah keeps being because we not only had to put her in the position of defending the book, she was I had to be the defender of that book, and I just liked it okay. She's I wasn't even obsessed with that book. Which is the real crime. Her only other crime was to be an independent woman and to read Love in the Time of Cholera and think it's okay. 15, Love in the Time of Cholera. This is my only flop, and I want to say, I might have said this in the episode, we have read worse books on the podcast, but I have not had a worse reading experience on the podcast. I just hated reading this book.
It was probably one of the shortest books, if not the shortest this season. It took me the longest to read.
It took forever to read. I was so happy when it was over. Even if one day I do somehow end up learning Spanish, I'm not going to read it again. Like,
no.
Sorry. And also I probably won't because I'm not good at learning languages. 14, I have All the Light We Cannot See.
What the fuck?
See, I was like, we're going right into chaos. And I will say this is kind of, for me, it speaks to what I think is the quality of this season.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even hate this book. You can remember, cast your mind all the way back to episode 1. I said, like, this book for me is the epitome of, like, average.
Yeah, this was a very high quality season.
Yeah, so that's a 3. That's not even a flop. However, I didn't like it that much.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, and then for 13, I have She Who Became the Sun. I really liked the idea of it, but the execution let me down a bit.
This is a wild ranking. Also, I realized... Actually, never mind. I'll take that back. I thought I miscounted something.
Oh, okay. All
My
right.
bottom 3, Love in Time of Cholera, got
Duh.
a 1. 14, Half of a Yellow Sun, which got a 2, which is also a flop.
That was the episode where we were like, oh, we didn't think we were that far off from each other, but actually we really are.
13, The Night Watchman, also a flop, 2.5.
Okay.
However, the caveat I made all season, Louise Erdrich, loved her other book.
There you go. Okay, then back to me. 12, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton.
Okay.
Like I said, I had a blast. I just couldn't put it above anything else. That's kind of all I could justify. 11, The Night Watchman. I gave it a 4. We're not even that different.
I think you had an 11, you're at a 4.
I liked stuff this season, man. I don't know. And then 10, The Song of Achilles.
It's a fascinating list. 12, Babel, which I gave a 3. And as you remember, I stole Grace's quote, and I'm like, this is the most 3 book I've read. And then Romancing Mr. Bridgerton is 11. I also gave it a 3, but I liked reading it more.
Mm-hmm.
10, I gave The Underground Railroad 3.75.
Okay.
So those are all fines.
Are we going to have... How many 5s do you have again? 5?
5 with the way I round.
Okay. Other than... Are we going to have, like, only 1 in common? I think we might.
We might have 2.
Okay.
We have some in not far spaces.
Okay, okay. Where did I leave off? Oh, okay. 9, The Other Boleyn Girl. I pushed this, like, as high as I could.
High as you can morally justify
No,
it.
literally. And then, well, like, compared to you, 8, Half of a Yellow Sun.
Okay, yeah.
I thought it was well done. And then this is where we get into my borderline territory.
Okay.
7, The Four Winds.
Okay.
I think I ended up giving that one like a 4.5.
My 9 was Lessons in Chemistry. I also gave that a 3.75. I just had a better reading experience, Underground Railroad. 8 is Pachinko, also a 3.75. Again, the best reading
You love
experience.
3.75.
It seems like, because it's better than like just a fine, but it's still fine.
It's not
territory.
quite a 4 either.
7, Song of Achilles, which was a 4.
Okay. With Ashley, who we miss.
We do miss her.
Okay.
Wow, all of my ones where we had guest hosts.
You do not have a good track record. Okay. Oh my gosh, where did I even lost? Okay, I left off at The Four Winds. 6, The Kite Runner.
Okay.
This is like very, very good. Like,
yeah.
They're probably the 2 books. 6, The Kite Runner, and 5, Lessons in Chemistry.
Okay.
Those are my ones that I think are borderline 5.
Yeah.
Those 2. But yeah. And then, oh my gosh, I have one more.
What's your 4?
Skip me, because then my tie is coming.
Oh, okay. So my 6 is The Other Boleyn Girl. I gave it a 4, and I just preferred reading it to Song of Achilles. 5 is She Who Became the Sun, and I gave it 4.5. So
I didn't realize you liked that one that much.
I liked that book a lot. And then 4 for me is A Kite Runner, which got a solid 5, and now we're into my solid 5s for my top 3.
So, you
just finish out your list now.
Yeah.
You only have 4.
What I have written down on my phone right now is, and I really agonized on this, I think at any given day these 2 could swap.
Okay.
4, The Book Thief. 3, Babel. I think it's so hard I gave them both 5s straight up. It's so hard to compare them because they're so different.
They're incredibly... It's just like, what are you in the mood for?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. So I ended up giving it to Babel just because I think I felt at the time.
Yeah.
It could go either way. Both of those books, in my opinion, are fantastic.
Okay.
2, Pachinko. This is still my, like, sentimental favorite coming in through the season, and I love that book to death. But I think I just can't deny that I think the best written book that we've read, I think all pod, is number 1, The Underground Railroad.
I was like, when you said Pachinko, I was like, I was so sure that was your top.
No, number 2, Pachinko. Okay. Number 1, The Underground Railroad.
My top 3, number 3, All the Light We Cannot See, solid 5. Number 2, The Four Winds, solid 5. And number 1, I knew it when we made the lineup for this season. It was going to be The Book Thief. There was no competition.
The Book Thief. Okay, so I think I was right that Love in the Time of Cholera was the only one that we had in the same
You were.
place.
We had some similar, like
yeah,
Bridgerton, close.
The Night Watchman was not far. The Kite Runner was close-ish. Yeah. The Book Thief was close because that was...
That could be your 2.
That was our only 5, though. I was like, we're only going to have 1 5 the same. Yeah. Because when you passed The Underground Railroad, Pachinko, Babel, I was like, those are mine.
Those are all my finds.
Wow. Okay.
Again, I think... Had I read it at a different time, I do think The Underground Railroad could have been much higher for me.
Yeah. I do think overall, much more high quality this season.
Oh, yeah. We need to give y'all some more flops, honestly.
We need to work to get the flops. It just speaks to the quality of the discerning public selecting the bestsellers.
Yeah, I mean, I would say these, for the most, except Love in the Time of Cholera, I would say they pretty much all deserve it.
Yeah.
In their own respect.
Yeah, like... There are only, when I was looking at this list, like, I would not recommend Love in the Time of Cholera to people, but even, like, She Who Became the Sun or All the Light We Cannot See, I would recommend that to people.
Same with me with, like, The Night Watchman. Like, I think I would make a case for...
Like, if I had read All the Light We Cannot See and you had never read it before,
you'd be like,
I would say, like, oh, Erin, I just thought this book was okay, but I think you would really like it. That's where I am with a lot of these.
We also just very much know I think I could have predicted a lot of your list.
Should we have done that? Should we have tried to guess first?
That's going to be season 3, and I think we should tell our audience what season 3 is going to be.
Oh my gosh. Do you want to do the honors?
I am so excited for season 3. It's one I've been looking forward to. We're going back to school, and we're reading some of our favorites, least favorites, and ones we've never heard of, children's and YA historical fiction.
This is going to be so fun. We both really care about children's fiction and historical fiction.
I mean, you heard from how we talked about The Book Thief. Like,
yes.
It's incredibly important.
Foundational, like, building a foundation for loving reading makes you an adult that loves reading, and that's what we both are.
And so because obviously, we read some long books this season. They're much shorter next season for the most part. We will be having a couple in one episode. So if we're talking about a book series, we might pick like 3 books to talk about in one episode.
Yes. So there will be more episodes next season. They'll likely be shorter.
Yes.
And we can't say quite yet when it's coming. We're going to take a little break.
We're going to have some more bonus episodes.
Yes, we're not going to leave you guys hanging. We have some movies to watch.
We do. We have movie nights on the group chat calendar.
Yes. So we are so excited to move into season 3. Kind of crazy to wrap up season 2.
It's insane. And we just want to thank our listeners, all dedicated 20-ish of you, for sticking through with us. This is like the highlight of my week is recording the pod.
If you've ever left a comment on our Instagram, that definitely means we know you. If you've ever left a comment on our TikTok, we might still know you, but less likely.
If you've ever recorded one of our videos to say how our opinions are wrong because you love Charlie Puth, we talk about you frequently.
And yet you're our hero. You're a hero of the pod. We need someone to chat about. So thank you for doing that.
And so you don't miss us too much, make sure you're following us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok at @5orflop_pod. And it's not too late. If you missed reading any books, you still have time to join our Storygraph reading challenge while keeping an eye out for our back to school one.
Yes. And if you have any books that you think we need to read for back to school, you can fill out the recommendation form in the bios of any of our social medias, or you can just email us at 5orfloppodcast@gmail.com.
Or if you want to be a guest host next season,
yeah, we're taking applications.
We are.
Like,
and
you don't even have to know us.
The application process is you telling us you want to do it.
Yeah.
So it's very easy.
And for the last time this season,
happy reading.
Happy reading.